Howdy. Welcome back to Dion Talk. When we're starting out in real estate, sometimes the first steps are the hardest. Usually we're learning, we're nervous, we don't have the patience, and figuring out a way to get into it when we don't have a lot of resources is a challenge. And I hear a lot of people talk about how the power of their network impacted them, or telling everybody what they do, how that had an effect on them. So what I have today is I have a story from a friend of mine named Joe, who actually doesn't live too far away. I'm in the Tacoma, Washington area. He's in the Vancouver, Washington area. And I want to cover how an accidental flip is going to be the thing that gets Joe into real estate. So Joe, I want to say thanks for coming on the show. Can you tell me a little bit about this property that we're going to go into this deal deep delve? What type of property is it?
Well, thanks for having me first off. And the property I have is a 3-bedroom, 2-bath, mobile home, double wide. It's on, oh goodness, probably just under a quarter acre, little under 1,800 square, 3.2. It's a quaint little place outside of Lincoln City, Oregon, in a town called Otis.
Okay. And how did you find the property?
So originally I grew up in that area, and so I know people, and I just started talking to everyone I knew that would listen about, hey, this is what I want to start doing in my life. If you hear about anything in that area, since I'm familiar with that area and I can at least have an idea what's going on, if somebody tells me about it, let me know. And that's kind of what happened here.
Okay. So you're in Vancouver, and how far away is Lincoln City?
Oh goodness. If traffic treats you right, 2.5 hours.
Okay. So I would call that investing at a distance. And I've talked on my channel a couple of times, if you're going to pick a market, one of the things you want is a tactical advantage, like boots on the ground. You live there, or you used to live there, so you know the neighborhoods, you know the areas to avoid, you at least know people in the area. This 2.5 hours away, technically it's not right in your backyard. When you purchased this property, what was the goal with it?
The original goal is I was hoping to have a buy and hold. I wanted to have a rental house. I wanted to have that income coming in from the property. But as I got into it, that changed pretty quick.
I have a feeling this will be my favorite part of the video because I'm a numbers guy. What was the purchase price of the property?
$20,000.
$20,000. How much did you have to put down?
$160.
$160. So technically you purchased a property for $160. And then the rest was going to be on payments.
Correct.
Total purchase price of $20,000. What would the area average rents in that area be if you fixed this place up and turned it into a rental?
Probably low end 1,200 up to, possibly 1,500, depending on how nice I wanted to make it look.
Okay, so 12 to 1,500, we'd say average 1,350 for a $20,000 investment that cost you $160. Explain to me how it cost you $160.
Well, the person had a tenant in there who had been in there for 18 months and had not paid rent, had let the house just fall apart, and also happened to be family. So, as some of us know, family could be our own worst enemy, and it's sometimes harder to be as hard on your family. And this is where this person was getting. They didn't want to put their family out on the streets, but they now had this decaying asset that wasn't making them any money. They were paying the taxes for somebody else's family to live, and they were fed up, and they were going to give the property away to their family. And they were telling me about this, and I said, do not do that. What do you want for it?
The family member of the seller was living in the property, treating the property so bad that the seller wanted to just give them the property to make the problem go away. And it sounds like you looked at this and you see a problem that you could solve, right?
Easily.
Okay. So you tell them, don't do that. How did that conversation go?
It really just came to almost exactly as that. They said, they just looked defeated, head down, and said, I'm just going to give it to them. I can't afford to fix the house up. I can't afford to kick them out. There's a moratorium. There's nothing I can do anyways. And that's when I just spoke up, and they threw the number out. They said, I don't know, 20,000 probably seems fair.
Nice. So you agreed to the 20,000. Let's talk chronology. When did you close on the property?
So originally when we first started talking about it was probably in July, and I closed on it in October 22nd.
So you knew you were taking a risk in July because the moratorium was still pretty much going strong. In October, yes, we started to see it go away. You said originally the plan was to turn this into a rental. What's the actual long-term goal now?
I am going to just pretty much flip it as is. There's a lot of money in equity for me just as is. It's not going to be any issue there. I went and cleaned it up. I spent one day, filled a 20-yard dumpster up. And the way I got the money for that and the taxes, I had borrowed a couple $1,000s from a friend because I told him, hey, here's the deal. I'm hoping either I can turn it into a rental, but either way, I need to get the first parts going. I didn't know that at that time I was going to end up flipping it because I also had to do stuff like the septic inspected and things. So I knew what I was getting into. Everything else was pretty sound, but I got that septic inspection back, and what I figured could be a $60,000 to $90,000 rehab turned into another $30,000 to $50,000 for that septic. And that's when I decided that I was watching my risk go up and my profit margin go down.
Okay, so you decided to sell.
Yeah, I decided the best thing was to sell because, again, 20,000 in, which I'm not 20,000 in at this point. I mean, even when you're looking, I'm using other people's money to pay the taxes and everything else, which I also gave the seller an extra $1,000 because they were moving out of state and they needed earnest money for their house. And I had that money I had borrowed, and it just paid another $1,000 off for me, but still that's not out of my pocket. 160 of my own money out of my pocket in this whole thing.
Where did the 160 come from? Like that exact number?
I had it in my wallet on me and they needed groceries. And I said, all right, well, let's sign this up and let's get a purchase agreement signed up. So, we're both agreement what the sell price is going to be, and let's get you this money. So you've got groceries. We put it on here, agree that you've received this money. And to my understanding, that essentially means they can't back out because they've accepted money for that property at that point. I don't know if that is correct. This is obviously that's the way I was looking at it at the point. I'm like, well, you've taken money in my eye, I was like, as a down payment, we've made an agreement. I didn't think they were going to back out to begin with, obviously, because they were getting something versus nothing. But at the time, that was my mindset.
Well, right. I mean, legally, they probably had a leg to back out if they wanted to give you your money back. But at that point in time, the sellers have what is called the sunk cost theory. They've invested the time with you to accept that amount of money. They feel an emotional connection to the sale. So the likelihood of them backing out at that point, especially if these are people that you've known for a while, didn't seem like a big risk. It's definitely a risk most of us would take, putting $160 on the table to lock in a property that we're purchasing for $20,000 that, if fixed up, could rent out for $1,350. What's the actual sale price of the property now that you're selling?
I'm going to sell it for $70,000 as is, and I only put a couple hours of my time into cleaning it up.
Okay, so you sell it for 70, you take the 20 minus whatever you've already given them, pay back your friend who paid the taxes. So you're going to walk away $40,000 in the end, maybe a little more. Not a bad day talking to your friends and realizing that they have a problem you could solve to make $40,000 out of the deal. What are you going to do with the $40,000?
Well, there's a couple routes I could go. I know my family wants to get a house. So realistically, that'll probably be the main focus, is try to get us a house. There's, an asset there, and save up everything else that we have left and get ourselves, either after a year, we can potentially, if we start off with an FHA, we can turn that into a rental and go get another FHA and keep the 3.5% game going. Or there's also, as I understand, the conventional, where you can start with 3%. And so I'm still learning about a lot of this, and I've got, ways I want to go. And I know in the long term, I want to start having buy and holds and rentals. I mean, I might like to do a flip sometime. Who knows? I enjoy building and tearing stuff apart at times, but I'm also lazy and I hate having to put in more effort than I need to for any project.
Well, your first flip was an accidental one. You just ran into one accident. You had planned on a rental and you're going to walk away with 40 grand. I can understand why your mind would say, let's do this again. You have a lot of interesting options. I think the best thing to do is to look at this like you're going to make somewhere around $40,000, and the goal is to put that money into a property.
Definitely. That is 100% the goal.
It's not for the vacation. It's not for the boat. It's not for the bigger car. It's put the money someplace where it's going to appreciate, where you're going to get principal pay down. Not a bad turnout for your first flip.
No, I agree. And this is definitely a huge hand up, and I don't want to take it for granted. So I've already made that clear. Me and my wife had conversations, and like, I know there's so many things we could do with this, but that's not what we're going to do. This is what we're going to do. We're going to take this and reinvest it and make it work for us properly.
Awesome. So I'm hoping that people's takeaway from this is tell everybody what you're doing, Keep your ears open because you never know what's going to pop up. Look for problems that you can solve. How are you selling the property?
So I started putting the feelers out there online. It really started out through Facebook and things like that. The different groups I'm involved in that are more local to my area. And I saw somebody asking about, hey, we're buying stuff. And I got a hold of them and I asked them, I was like, hey, are you a wholesaler? I don't care. But if so, hey, can we work together? This is what I've got. I'm more than happy to, work with you. However, this is what I'm looking to get. I don't care what you're getting. And they set me up with somebody who was just in the right area and invested in the area and got me exactly what I wanted with very little effort.
You get a win because you're selling the property without having to put a bunch of work into it. The wholesaler gets a win because they're going to get their cut of the pie. And then there's a buyer out there that's going to get a property that met the numbers they were looking for. So across the board. And then the seller, they got to offload the property and they get 20 grand that they probably weren't expecting to get because you said it earlier. They were so frustrated, they were just going to give the property to their relative. I'm sure you learned a lot in this process. If somebody wants to reach out with questions, what's the easiest way to get a hold of you?
Let's see. I guess best way would be my email. I guess at JD Heffley, that's HEFLEY 82 at gmail.com.
All right. Well, thanks again, Joe, for coming on here and sharing this. Hopefully there's some takeaways for people. Even in this crazy market, off-market deals can happen.
That they can. Thank you very much for having me on. I appreciate your time.
Awesome. Until my next video, thanks for coming to my Dion Talk.
We're sorry, the number you have dialed is not in service at this time.
One other thing that people should think about is the fact that something's so far away, right? Well, one thing is actually holding up my closing. I remember how I told you I grew up in that area. Got a traffic ticket that I completely neglected and forgot about. That was a couple $100 traffic ticket back then. It's like $1,000 traffic ticket now. So now I have to drive down, not to Lincoln City, but down to Newport, which is closer to 3 hours away, to go pay that so I can hurry up and close this, because they're not going to close as long as I owe them $1,000.
That's actually interesting. I don't know that that's ever come up before. So if you owe money to the court system won't let you do filing on a property until that's resolved.
Yeah, and because I owed it to that county, and they had a judgment against me, and so because of that, they won't let me close.
That's a good thing to pay attention to. I run a CDL school, and a lot of our clients are from other states. And during the process of getting a CDL, that's when they find out they have a ticket from 1994 that's now, instead of $200, it's $1,500, and they can't get a CDL until they take care of it. But I've never heard of it gumming up the works on a property sale. That's pretty cool.
Me either. I was not expecting that at all. So, and I thought, maybe the escrow company would I was like, well, can you just take it out of the closing cost, or, take it out of my piece? So
but not today.
Sadly, we can't pay this. You have to do it. And then we need a letter of satisfaction. So instead of do everything through snail mail, because they're a smaller county, that's how it would work. I'm just going down there to take care of it. I mean, for the payday I'm getting, I want to hurry up and get it done. So
nice.